Welcome to this explainer. Take a quick look around the room you're sitting in right now. Today, we are going to unpack the literal anatomy of a modern office. We'll be taking a fascinating look at how you transform an empty, echoing space into a highly efficient, legally compliant, and completely safe system. Whether you're managing a small team, stepping into a new administrative role, or maybe designing a corporate headquarters, the principles we're covering today from our source material are absolutely foundational to making a workplace actually work. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be defining the modern office, looking at designing your space, checking out tools for efficiency, digging into organization and methods, and wrapping it all up with workplace health and safety. All right, Section 1, defining the modern office. Let's start with the absolute basics. So, what actually makes a room an office? It's not just a bunch of desks and swivel chairs, right? Think of it more like the central nervous system of an organization. It's this active hub where vital information is collected from both inside and outside the company, then processed and carefully preserved. Why? So management can make smart, informed decisions on the fly, without delay. Beyond just paperwork, it's also your logistical center for things like receiving visitors, arranging transport, the whole shebang. It is literally where the pulse of the company lives. Moving right along to Section 2, designing your space. So how do we physically build out that central nervous system? Well, it usually comes down to the classic layout debate every manager eventually faces: closed versus open plan. Now, a closed office gives you undeniable privacy. You can really get in the zone, and you don't have to listen to a coworker's loud typing. But they're pricey to build, and supervising a team hidden behind closed doors is pretty tough. Open plans solve that. They're super economical, supervision is a breeze since everyone's right in view, and collaboration is totally seamless. Plus, your energy costs actually go down. The trade-off, of course, is a definite loss of privacy and a serious spike in ambient noise. But whether you go open or closed, you've got to plan for a few foundational factors. One term from the source material that really grabbed me was churn rate. It sounds like something straight out of a dairy farm, but it actually refers to the percentage of staff moved around during the year. If your company has a high churn rate, you desperately need a highly adaptable layout. On top of that, you have to juggle strict statutory requirements, things that legally mandate fire prevention and lighting levels, along with your specific business needs, standard accommodations for different staff levels, and of course, just the sheer availability of physical space. Now, this brings us to office landscaping, which is honestly fascinating. It's not just about sticking a sad little potted fern in the corner. It's about strategically creating an environment that actively motivates your workers and attracts customers. The source breaks this down into 3 core buckets. First up, ambience. That's your temperature, air quality, lighting, and even the psychological impact of background music. Second is space and functions, managing the physical layout, your equipment, convenience facilities, and emergency routes. And finally, signs and symbols. We're talking directional signage, decorative artifacts, award plaques, even staff uniforms. When you master all 3 of these, you create a truly holistic, highly productive environment. All right, Section 3, tools for efficiency. Okay, so with the physical space designed and landscaped, we need to populate it with the tools that make the work actually happen. Beyond standard tech like computers, offices literally run on forms. And the source points out something crucial. Certain forms, think checks, receipts, special vouchers, are essentially localized currency. Because they can so easily be used for fraud or theft, they have to be treated as highly classified security documents. That means locking them up in fire and water-resistant cast iron safes. It means strict release registers to hold people accountable for every single piece of paper, and restricting their production with anti-counterfeit features to guarantee integrity. And then there's information technology, which acts as a massive multiplier across all your core managerial functions. When it comes to planning, IT gives you this incredible wealth of data for accurate scenario mapping. For organizing, it unlocks totally new operational structures, allowing for heavy outsourcing and non-hierarchical, flat teams. For staffing, IT creates ultimate mobility. Specialized knowledge workers can act as remote consultants from literally anywhere. And in controlling, it lets managers instantly spot deviations from their plans while facilitating worldwide selling. It is the undeniable engine of modern management control. Next up, Section 4, organization and methods. We have our space, we have our tech. So how do we systematically optimize the human workflow? Enter organization and methods, or O&M. The source defines this as a systematic attempt to boost productivity by completely overhauling procedures, methods, systems, and structures. It's so critical that a lot of companies set up specialized O&M units with one ruthless goal: eliminate waste and simplify jobs. It's all about making sure you're getting the absolute most efficient utilization of your materials, your money, and your labor. Ultimately, it's about relentlessly driving down costs by cutting out the fluff. So if you actually want to run an O&M study to improve productivity, the source outlines a strict 6-step sequence. First, you select the specific task or workflow you're targeting. Then, you record exactly how it's being done right now. No sugarcoating, just the raw reality. Next, you critically examine that existing method to expose all those hidden inefficiencies, which lets you develop a brand new, improved method. Finally, you install it, and honestly, this might be the most important part. You meticulously maintain it. Because if you don't, employees will just slip right back into their old, comfortable, inefficient habits. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, Workplace Health and Safety. We've built an efficient, streamlined machine, but frankly, none of that matters if the environment isn't safe. The source notes a genuinely stark statistic right out of the gate. Even in a highly developed country like the United Kingdom, over 500 people are killed at work every single year, with hundreds of thousands more injured or suffering ill health. And the equivalent figures for West African countries are estimated to be vastly higher. It just underscores that managing health and safety is never just administrative paperwork. It is a literal matter of life and death, and a massive risk factor for an organization. This human cost is exactly why strict legal frameworks exist globally. We're talking Nigeria's Factories Act of 1990, Ghana's 1970 equivalent, all the way to international ILO conventions and modern compensation acts. Employers are legally mandated to provide things like safe ventilation, adequate lighting, and robust machinery fencing to stop occupational hazards in their tracks. Failing to comply with these statutes doesn't just put lives at risk, you're inviting severe government sanctions, massive compensatory damages, and a total loss of public goodwill. So how do we actually stop these hazards from becoming tragedies? Well, it has to start at the very top with a documented safety policy commitment from management. From there, it's all about continuous periodic risk assessments to catch problems early. That might mean eliminating a dangerous fume, setting up physical barriers, or mandating protective equipment. And crucially, the source points out this requires appointing a dedicated health and safety officer to act as the daily relentless champion for your team's well-being within the organization. As we wrap up this explainer, we've looked at everything from spatial layout and churn rates to detailed O&M studies and strict legal safety obligations. But I want to leave you with one final thought regarding the environments you will manage or work in. Ask yourself, is your office built for people or just for work? Because a truly effective, well-designed office doesn't just extract labor, it protects, supports, and actually motivates the people inside it. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the anatomy of the modern office, and I really hope this helps you look at your own workspace in a whole new, structured light.